Hello there, I'm Presley, and today I will be going over the events of and giving my overall thoughts on episodes 25 and 26 of the Bleach Thousand Year Blood War. Now, these two episodes cover chapter 602 to chapter 609 in terms of what they adapt from the manga. Now, this review is going to be a bit different from the way that I normally do my reviews. I'm just going to try to quickly go through the events, very briefly. I'm not even going to go into as much detail as I normally do, for the stuff that happens in the manga, and instead I'm going to go into detail for the stuff that is new to the anime. That way this video won't be too long since I am going over 2 episodes worth of stuff in this video. Alright, so episode 25 starts out with the Vizards that remained in the world of the living showing up to where Kisuke is. Where he just sent off Ichigo and the others. And, they talk for a bit, and then we see Yushiro, Yoruichi's younger brother, show up with some items he brought for Yoruichi, only to find out that she's already left. Then the opening theme plays. Then we resume where we left off with Ichibei and Yhwach. We have a back and forth with them for a bit before we cut over to where we can see the rest of the Zero Division, and we see where the cage starts to come apart. However, Hikifune acts fast and is able to release some seeds that are able to reinforce the cage to keep it from falling apart. And we can see where Tanjiro throws some water at Uryu and Yugrum. And this results in a bit of a split-off fight with Uryu fighting Senjumaru and Tanjiro fighting Yugrum. And, we cut over and we see this a few times here and there. And, of course, these are new additions. Which this is the thing. The fact that they restructured a lot of the Zero Division's fight has resulted in us getting a lot of new additions, which I think were greatly needed for the Zero Division's fight. Then, of course, we cut over to Oetsu, and we see where, he comes to a halt. And we see Askin standing up. And, we have a bit of dialogue exchange between these two characters for a bit. We cut back over to Tanjiro, where we see him and Yugrum going back and forth for a bit. And, we ultimately see him manage to cut down Yugrum. We cut back over to Askin, explaining how he's now upped the lethal dosage of Oetsu's blood. And tells him that, he won't be able to get below the lethal dosage, because it's already way more blood than he could survive without. Then, of course, we see Tanjiro appear, and we see him use his hot spring water as a way to, replace Oetsu's blood with new blood. Then, of course, we cut back over to Senjumaru and Uryu, where we see them going back and forth for a bit. We ultimately see Uryu being knocked to the ground. We cut back over to Ichibei and Yhwach, where we have a bit more of their fight and their banter back and forth, obviously. We then cut back over to the Sarate, where we see where several Stanridders and, other unnamed Quincy soldiers are, just kind of there. This is a very quick way of seeing, like, oh, these characters are alive, and this character's alive. Because then we immediately cut back over to Yhwach and Ichibei, where we see Yhwach begin the purge of the Quincy's that are down there in the Sarate. We see them being engulfed in these pillars of Reishi, and, it's draining away their Quincy powers and their life force, it's just draining away everything of all the Quincy's it comes into contact with, similar to the event that happened 9 years ago with Ichigo's mother and Uryu's mother, obviously. We see Lil and Giselle, duck out of the way and get under some rubble away from it. We see Basby and Lil state that, they aren't going to die here, that they refuse to die this way, because, we see Lil and we see Basby's reactions to this, the reactions of what's going on, why is this happening, are we really just disposable to Yhwach? And then, of course, we see where Yhwach's royal guards are revived as a result of him doing this. Then the ending theme plays. However, we do have an end credits scene for this episode, where we see Sunsui and Uketake talking. The ending poem for this episode is a new one, and it's from the perspective of Senjumaru. Alright, episode 26. We start off, we pick up where we left off with Yhwach and Ichibei talking. Then the opening theme plays. Then we see where the royal guards, they're up, they're walking around, they're fine. We see Lie shoot Oetsu. He explains a bit more about how his shrift works, the fact that he's not even really using bullets, that his shrift will hit, that any shot he fires will hit whatever his target is. It'll cut directly through whatever is in its path. Then after a bit, we see where Senjumaru has pulled Oetsu to the side, and she uses some fabric to repair Oetsu's body, and this is actually really interesting. And I'm just gonna state right now, every single thing in this episode, aside from the Yhwach and Ichibei stuff, is entirely new to the anime, and it is so amazing to see them actually expand the Zero Division fight. Ultimately, we see where the branches slowly section off certain people, and we see Senjumaru fighting Gerard, we see Askin fighting Tenjiro, we see Panada fighting Hikifune, we see Oetsu fighting Lie. We see a bit of each of these fights, unfold. We cut back over to Yhwach and Ichibei, and, we see them go back and forth, exchanging strikes with each other, and ultimately we see Ichibei use one of his techniques, which you can see as Zanpakuto kind of falters between looking like a sword and looking like a brush, which makes sense when you keep in mind the functionality of it. And, we see that as, as him and Yhwach continue to exchange strikes, and we see where this black ink has covered Yhwach's sword. And, Yhwach questions what this is, but he's not able to remember the name of his own sword. The technique that Ichibei is currently using, makes it to where anything that this ink gets on loses its name. We then, of course, see Yhwach attempt to steal Ichibei's powers. We cut back over to where the rest of the Zero Division is fighting. We see where Oetsu attempts to get closer to Lie. We see where Lie is able to shoot directly into his chest. We see the other members of the Zero Division who have been beaten down a bit. Then we see where, the members of the Zero Division, outside of Ichibei, who is still fighting Yhwach, obviously, have gathered, they're all standing near each other, and they ultimately decide that, there's only really one thing they can do in this scenario, and, Oetsu, he turns to Senjumaru, and he states that, they're just gonna leave this up to her. And with that, we see Hikifune, Tenjiro, and Oetsu all take their own lives. And with that, we see this radiant glow around Senjumaru. And Senjumaru begins explaining that all of the members of the Zero Division's blood is linked together, forming a blood oath, which keeps them from using their full powers. However, now that the other three are gone, she is able to use her powers as she pleases. And we see what is honestly the craziest addition to these two episodes, which is we see the reveal of Senjumaru's Bankai. We see this fabric surrounding each member of Yhwach's Royal Guard, plus Yugrum and Uryu, obviously. And we see as it one by one takes everyone out. And I mean, honestly, the sheer versatility of Senjumaru's Bankai is crazy. We cut back over to Ichibei and Yhwach, and, after a bit more back and forth, we see where Ichibei unleashes this technique, which is, of course, his own Bankai. And we see where he paints over Yhwach, covering Yhwach in the ink, stating not only can he take away something's name, but he can issue it a new name, referring to Yhwach as an ant. And, we see where he sends Yhwach flying. And, then the end credits play. Of course, now we move on to my overall thoughts. These 2 episodes were absolutely crazy. I loved them. I absolutely adored them. I was speechless when they revealed Senjumaru's Bankai, because I truly did not think that we would be getting the reveal of a member of the Zero Division's Bankai. I did not see that coming. I love that we did, though. It was amazing. And, the Ichibei and Yhwach fight was great as well. But yeah, all the stuff they added in regards to the Zero Division was fantastic. I loved it. But yes, I loved these episodes. I thought they were amazing. A fantastic ending to the second core. Well, I guess this is where I'm going to end this review. Thank you for watching. I hope you have an amazing week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!